Hello there guys, my name is Ben and welcome back to the Pride of Villa. It's been a little bit of a while, but we are coming straight back at you with a huge transfer story breaking out. Amadou Onana from Everton to be signing for Aston Villa Football Club, and what a bit of a transfer this is. It's come out of the blue this morning that Villa were heavy into negotiations with Everton Football Club to sign Amadou Onana, and it looks like to be that we will be the next player joining Aston Villa, kind of a statement signing, hopefully the first of many for Aston Villa. So what do we know about Amadou Onana? Well, coming from Everton, signed there about in 2022, so he's played about two and a bit years with Everton Football Club. 22 years of age, 6'4", midfield player, and he's, like I said, he's going to be signed for around 45 to 50 million for the Belgian midfielder. And what an interesting signing this is. Now, for me personally, 50 million is a bit of an exaggeration, a bit of a it's a hefty fee to be paying for a player like him. If we look at him statistically, since being with Everton, 72 games appearances made, 4 goals and 3 assists. You know, if we're looking on that alone, that doesn't really scream to me a 50 million player. Is he a talented player? Yes. Is there a lot of potential there? Yes, given the age. He's only 22. That is a lot of time for him to still develop into this quality midfielder. You know, midfielders don't really come into their prime till about 26, 28. But 50 million, you know, for me, if we're willing to spend that amount of money on a player like Amadou Onana, considering we've been after him for a while, I don't see why you wouldn't have spent the money on Conor Gallagher. You know, Chelsea have had an interest in John Duran. You know, it's a player that's still trying to get offloaded for around 25 to 30 million. If you're going to spend 50 million on Amadou Onana, I'd go with Conor Gallagher. A proven player, somebody that I think really what this signing is a replacement for Douglas Luiz. And it's just kind of an interesting move for me. I wouldn't say he's a £50 million player. I'd say he's about 35 at max player. But considering how quickly this transfer story and how quickly this transfer is actually happening, this is somebody that Villa have clearly had a lot of eyes focused on for their team going into this season. Obviously, a few signings made already. Some have been covered on the channel. But this one's probably the most interesting one as of yet. You know, Amadou Onana then. What are we looking for? Well, we're getting somebody, first of all, 6'5". That is a very tall presence in our midfield. Something that we kind of don't really seem to have a lot, especially on set pieces. You know, you want your taller players to be in and amongst that box area. So obviously, you know, when the ball comes in, you're expecting your taller players to get onto it. And that's something that's going to really help to provide us a bit of clearance against some of those taller centre-halves when they're pressing on the defence. We're also not looking for somebody with a bit of physicality as well, something that's really going to body into it. You know, you've got McGinn, who does really well using his body to pass through players, but apart from that, it's not really a physical team, and that's something that Onana is now going to bring as well to help body against and really control the tempo and flow of that midfield. Creativity as well. You know, with Douglas Luiz now gone, we've had to bring in a new midfield. Bear in mind, we've still got McGinn. Barkley is a signing for Aston Villa. Enzo Barrenechea, I think it's Enzo Barrenechea. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. Kamara, there's still Jacob Ramsey. There's a lot of now options in that midfield, but the point is we need somebody, you know, if we want to play football that's, you know, possessive heavy, but also still controlling the tempo up into the pitch, that's something that Onana is going to bring to us. He's going to bring a sense of control and a sense of urgency into that midfield. So it's really going to help us get forward and actually, you know, enable our attacking players to really, you know, have a chance on goal, have a chance to create those opportunities on goal, and absolutely see the results that we need. It's something that for me is quite interesting to see. Obviously, like I said, 6 to 7 midfielders have now been, joining the club. There is a lot of positions there that will potentially need to be filled, and a lot of consideration will need to be filled. How is Onana going to fit into this midfield? Bear in mind, you know, McGinn's a premature starter. He's the captain of the club. Kamara, once he's probably come back into fitness, he'll be somebody that will, you know, slot right into that role. And then you've got to think, okay, well, we've got Onana now. We've got Ross Barkley. Don't forget Emi Buendia as well, although he's kind of probably going to be more someone that's going to drift out wide. It's very interesting to see where this is going to play and if it's going to change our formation. You know, we're kind of a team that likes to play a modified 4-4-2. Maybe he's going to go to a 4-5-1. I don't know. That's something we'll have to see over time. Something that will have to come across as Villa, bed into the season a bit more. And like I said, there is a lot of players there that have joined the club. We're not just talking about, obviously, Ian Mattison's, your Ross Barkley's, but, Samuel Iling-Jr., Enzo Barrenechea, obviously, Amadou Onana now. Philogene-Bidace is going to be coming back into the team. There's a lot of players there that are not only being brought in, but it does raise the question, who's going out? Are we going to see, Moussa Diaby possibly go to Saudi Arabia this time, with the talks that, perhaps it's heavy? Considering, again, Leon Bailey, Philogene-Bidace, who I've seen people say that he's probably going to get sold on as well. I think this time he's actually going to be staying there. He's probably going to be part of the club, given the really impressive season that he had for Hull City. You've got to think, there's a lot of depth out there now. Is it just, a team looking for squad depth? But like I said, if you're going to sign a player for 50 million, you're going to want to see him be your starting player. You're going to want him to be somebody that really controls your midfield and someone that, when you're putting up that first 11, he's the one name that you're expecting. And like I said, if we're spending that money, that's what I'm expecting. It's the same from what we probably all expected from Diaby. It does take time for players to bed into it. But, since Onana's played about 2 years with Everton, he's a player that I'm expecting to really bed into the team already, and hopefully something that's going to bring some much needed creativity. Like I said, the Douglas Luiz replacement really here. Obviously, we miss somebody like Douglas Luiz who picks up the ball in the centre of the pitch and then really drives along with it, kind of being that pivot for the midfield to help control the flow of the game and help bring Aston Villa forward in their attacking play. So that's something that Onana's going to want to be bringing to the club. And that's something that, when you've actually watched his play style, something that he tries to do, but perhaps hasn't got the necessary quality around him, given that Everton really don't have the same attacking qualities that Aston Villa have. It's kind of a bit of a wishy-washy midfield. But given the play style, given the way that Emery plays as well, like I said, possessive, heavy football, this is something that I think Onana's really going to gel well into and something that he's going to really find beneficial. In one of the reasons I wanted to join. Obviously, Champions League football, squad depth. I like the signing, but I just don't agree on the price. I think the price is a little bit too much, but it's one of those things that we'll have to see come and go and see what potentially comes from the player. But yes, Amadou Onana to Aston Villa for 50 million. Tell us in the comments down below what you think of this move. Obviously, some other transfers that we haven't covered on the channel as well. Just quickly go through him. Obviously, Jaden Philogene-Bidace coming back from Hull City. Spent a year out there. Now, I believe the fee's around 10 to 13 million because of a 30% transfer clause in the contract. Something to do with promotion. I don't know. But essentially, Villa have got the massive... they've sold him for a lot more and they've managed to buy him for a lot less, considering the player was being valued at 20 to 30 million, wanted by the likes of Ipswich. Even Barcelona apparently were interested in the player. I think for me, this is a really good move. Obviously, whatever happens with Philogene-Bidace, I personally don't like the idea of buying Kaplan just to sell him again. I think that's a bit silly. I liked what I saw of him in pre-season last year. I thought he was probably one of the best, if not the best player that stood out from that pre-season last year. Obviously went to Hull City to get a bit more playtime. Really shone there. Probably one of the best players in the Championship. And Villa have clearly seen that sense and want to bring him back into the team. So that I like. And like I said, if Moussa Diaby's getting moved on, that's probably something a bit more smarter there. Obviously, the swap transfer, so Samuel Iling-Jr. and Enzo Barrenechea from Juventus for Douglas Luiz. It's a shame to see Douglas go. I think I was speaking to this. I think if somebody was going to go from that field, I would have been surprised. Why not sell McGinn? The player was only signed for about 2.5 million. There's definitely a profit that could have been made there. I think Yesson, if they really wanted to make the profit and obviously meet PSR rules, could have moved him on perhaps, but that's just the opinion. And then obviously we've now signed a left winger / left back in Samuel Iling-Jr. That's perfectly fine. Somebody that's really going to help the team going forward and obviously provide a bit of a different outlet there. Even though Ian Mattison's also been signed and he's going to be obviously, a solid player in the wide back positions there. And then obviously Enzo Barrenechea. That's the one that's really interesting for me. Someone that plays in midfield. He's a little bit younger, so it'll be interesting to see, what type of role he's going to play. Obviously, Villa are still looking to offload players, and I imagine this isn't the end of transfers for Aston Villa. I think there is still a striker in the whips. I hope to God it be Tammy Abraham because I think it makes logistical sense. And perhaps maybe a new centre half, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, those are all the transfers today. Leave us in the comments down below what you think of these moves. And yeah, I am back finally. University's over. The channel's back on the move. Up the Villa with the pride of Villa. We'll see you next time.